These Afrikaners he just brought in, completely expedited, sent a plane to go, U.S. paid plane to go grab them in South Africa and welcome them with open arms while the black and brown people are being thrown the hell out. And so the word of the day, which is, I guess, hard for some people to say, is selective racism.
Anna Navarro joined Abby Phillip on CNN for a heated debate against Scott Jennings and Kevin O'Leary. Alongside Ashley Allison, she challenged the conservative duo in a tense exchange over race and politics. We'll break down the biggest moments from the discussion, and I'll share my thoughts as we go. Let's get into it.
Trump administration closes the door on asylum seekers from around the world. A flight carrying dozens of white South Africans who were granted refugee status landed in Virginia today. The White House moved to expedite the processing of Afrikaners as refugees over alleged discrimination. Donald Trump is claiming it is a genocide.
Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Afrikaners but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. It's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. Farmers are being killed. They happen to be white.
The South African president says the people arriving in the U.S. today do not fit the definition of refugees, and that what Trump has been told about their persecution is false. All right, table. You're hearing from the South African president, and there are two bits of information happening here at the same time. The United States itself has never officially said that there is a genocide in South Africa, none whatsoever. But they have said officially that there is a genocide going on in Sudan. So why are Afrikaners being allowed in who are white and the Sudanese are being closed out? I'll start with you, Scott.
I don't know. I don't know if they weigh one against the other that way. I mean, I do think it's not alleged discrimination that these people are facing in South Africa. I mean, the law there absolutely allows their property to be confiscated. They are subject to racial discrimination. Some have been subject to violence from some reports that I have read. I mean, we're talking about 50-something people, and the people who seem to be angriest about this today had no problem with 20 million coming here. Some of the worst people in the world coming here, including gang members and so on and so forth. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for the folks who are outraged today after what happened to this country over the last several years, over 50-something people who are clearly being discriminated against in South Africa.
But I think it's the reasoning for this. Allison?
Okay. So if you think about the history of South Africa, it being under an apartheid system, where I think it is 80% of the population that are Black Africans only own 4% of the land. That is because they were put in shanty towns and moved into areas where they had no rights. And so 30 plus years ago, they went through a the apartheid system ended, and they reformed their constitution under the great leader of Nelson Mandela. And that allowed for a racial reconciliation, one that this country has yet to do. But South Africa did it, and they reformed their constitution, and part of that is that the people who are native to that land deserve their rightful land back. That is not what the Afrikaners actually want to have happen, which are the white Africans, and so who are not originally from Africa, who colonized South Africa also. And so that is what they are saying is discrimination. Now, if the Constitution in South Africa is discriminatory, they have their checks and balances in that land, just like we do. And that is for them to, so if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave that country.
They are. They're leaving to come here.
No, they can
these refugees are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
Are you against them coming here?
Holland, probably.
Holland.
Are you
yes.
against them coming here?
I'm against the hypocrisy of this administration.
No, that's not the question. The question is, are you against them coming here?
If there was actually a genocide happening, like there is in other places in Sudan, in the Congo, I'm not opposed for Congolese and for the Sudanese to come to Africa, just like I'm not opposed to Venezuelans and South Americans coming to America if they are fleeing and looking for asylum.
Okay.
What I am
just
against,
these 50 people you're
what
against.
I am against, it's not about being against them. What I am against is that they are being given special treatment when there is not a genocide happening in South Africa, and they just don't like the law of the land.
Well,
so you know what they tell people?
Scott Jennings does what he always does. Looks straight into the camera with that familiar smirk while brushing aside Ashley Allison's argument. Her point is rooted in history, but Jennings isn't interested in that. His position comes across as simple. Because the Afrikaners are white, they're welcome. The criticism here is that MAGA applies different standards depending on race, while claiming race has nothing to do with it. The irony is hard to ignore. If Ashley Allison had used the same kind of sweeping rhetoric often aimed at other immigrant groups, Jennings would likely have condemned it immediately.
Very high crime rate in South Africa. They have a crime problem. I suspect that part of what's going on here is that there is a very high-profile white South African named Elon Musk, who is very close to President Trump and is probably making this a very high-profile issue and talking to Trump about it. You know, it's been, I mean, Elon Musk has tweeted about it. He's, I think, called the president of South Africa about it. He's been talking about this for a long time. Look, here's the problem. There's Afghanis who helped us over there at risk of their own lives, whose refugee status had been approved, who are now being told to get out. There is actually a case in court right now, Pasito. Pasito, the lead plaintiff, is from Congo, and he is where there is an actual genocide. And there were 12,000 refugees from countries where there is genocide who have been processed, who sold their homes. Some of them have been waiting for years in third countries, who have been approved for refugee status, which Donald Trump has banned. So it's very difficult to reconcile and understand why these white Afrikaners are okay, but the black and brown people fleeing political persecution and fleeing actual genocide are not. And so the word of the day, which is, I guess, hard for some people to say, is selective racism.
Look, I'll just be on the record very blunt. I'm against them coming here. And it's exactly for what you said, that they're taking spots from people who are being massacred. And the issue of Afghan and Iraqi translators is very personal for me, because I wouldn't be here without these Afghan or Iraqi and American heroes risking their lives for our troops. And I'm one of the many veterans on both sides of the aisle who have fought tooth and nail to get these veterans here, because they're being hunted down right now in these countries. And the Trump administration has said, no, it doesn't matter if you served, doesn't matter if you protected our troops, you don't get to come here. We're going to give these 50 slots.
I want to speak to that, because Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said this today about the temporary protected status for Afghans. She said, we've reviewed the conditions in Afghanistan with our interagency partners, and they do not meet the requirements for a TPS designation. Afghanistan has had an improved security situation. Do you believe that?
She has obviously not talked to veterans who know, because we're still in touch with these heroes, that they are being hunted down as we speak.
That's a ridiculous thing for her to just say. Like,
it's completely ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous. And I just think that...
And there's a lot of Republican veterans who will tell you the same thing, by the way.
I just think that, like, sometimes you got to call a spade and spade. If anyone, regardless of the amount of melanin in their skin, is experiencing a genocide, I do think that this land, this great land of America, should be a place of refuge. But only when there is actually a genocide happening, and only when they're actually seeking asylum. And I think it should be offered to all people. And that doesn't seem to be the case right now in this administration.
How do you see this, Kevin? How can you explain this when you see what is happening here with the selective choices that are being made by Donald Trump and the words he's using, and there's no proof, no agency, no one who tracks genocide is saying that there's a genocide in South Africa?
Isn't this narrative going on in almost every country that was either colonized way back, gone through multi-generations, where the indigenous people feel they're not really part of the new society? Pick a country: Canada, Cyprus, Germany, South Africa. What is the answer to this? It is a very difficult situation. We in North America...
Is there a genocide going on in Canada?
Listen, if you talk to Canada,
no, really,
what happened to the indigenous
you're Canadian.
people in
I'm asking you
Canada
because
100 years ago, they'll call it genocide, and they were right. And the government had to make it right for them. The same thing happened in many countries. If you were a native in Canada, those school systems they had back just 50 years ago, it's horrible. That's one example. And yet, most democracies, including America and Canada, want to make it right. That's the general tone of it. Now, these are 50 or 60 people. It's a unique situation. They're coming into the country legally. You may not like it, but they are not stealing their way in. They have found a way in on a legal basis. And we can debate it, and we are, but this narrative about indigenous populations, there's something rather remarkable in North America.
I haven't been
Africans are not indigenous.
people, the 12,000 people being represented under PACITA are also coming in
How many
legally.
generations does it take for a Dutch person to have children in South Africa before they become South Africans? How many do
But
you
that
think?
doesn't make them indigenous to the land.
Why not?
The people who were born
How many
there are
generations do they have
indigenous
to
the
be there
land.
for? They never get accepted, ever?
I'm not saying that.
They
but
have
when
children.
I don't
No,
think this is
that's
about-
not what I'm
yeah,
saying.
it's not about
You're actually
acceptance.
making my point for me. You're
I don't
saying the
think so.
people
I'm
in the
disagreeing
indigenous,
with
you. Yeah, you are.
indigenous people of Canada were mistreated from 100 years ago. The South Africans were mistreated 100 years
My
ago
point
by
is,
the
they
Afrikaners.
are
And
all-
so they're trying to make right by it because they do live in a democracy now, which they did not live in under apartheid. And the people who are now seeking refuge in this country don't want the indigenous people
What
to
you
get their
just
rights.
said, and I disagree with,
To get
you
their
get a
land,
passport.
not their right, to get their land. Just to
Well,
be
to
clear.
get their
Wait a
land
second.
is their
If
right.
If you
want
get
them
a
to stay there,
passport,
you want them to
if you
stay
have
there
a
and
passport in South Africa,
No, I want
Okay,
them
wait,
to
these
say
are
they're
all
living what the law says.
These are great technical debates that there's not a genocide in South
That's
Africa.
right.
And we have a refugee
I
program.
am sure there's been
because there are a lot
violence
of people
against
who are
one
getting
side or
killed
the
in
other.
other
There
parts
has
of
been
the world.
violence,
Answer me
but that
one
doesn't.
question.
Hold on a
That's why
second.
we
Hold
have
on a
just
second.
one
Hold on a
question
second. I
answer.
want to make a point. Violence does not equal genocide.
That's
so we
right.
need to be really, really clear about that, because if you look
If you're
at
the
violence,
dead guy, you may not say that.
no, I would say that actually, because if you look at what genocide is, it is very specific that you're trying to get rid of a people, a whole group of people. There is violence in South Africa. They've had a very big uptick in violence. But black people have seen the brunt of that violence.
Okay.
Not just.
Then let me ask this question
white
of the
Africans.
panel. If you get a passport and you're South African, and you have that passport and you're of Dutch descent, and someone else has the same passport, is this a tainted passport? Is it not equal? Are you not a citizen? Do you not have the same
No,
rights?
you know what?
Or they're special?
No. You're right. It's the same passport. That means you have to follow the laws. Each person has to follow the laws. And right now, what the Dutch is saying, they don't want to follow the laws of the land. So they're saying their passport, like it was during apartheid, when Africans didn't even have
I'm
a
not
passport
hearing
because
that.
they had a passport.
I'm hearing them saying,
They had a
my
dummy
passport's
card.
not the same, and I fear for my life, and I'm leaving the country. That's what I'm
I
hearing.
also thought Trump said we're going to enforce immigration laws. And this is not enforcing immigration laws. It's breaking a law that clearly says if there's a genocide, you get to come as a refugee.
Well, he's
That's the
put a
process.
refugee ban on practically everybody else. Most of that everybody else that I can think of are either black people or brown people. We are seeing right now Cuban mothers torn away as they are breastfeeding one-year-old U.S. citizen child and sent back to Cuba, where there is a cruel dictatorship. We are seeing Nicaraguans and Venezuelans and Haitians, where the country is held in a handbasket, and Cubans who had parole status to come into this country
Anna, fair
be
enough.
told they have to
But
leave.
let's celebrate
Okay.
one thing together. America is still the country where the persecuted want to come, period.
Oh, yes,
That's true.
And that's the
but the
American
problem
dream.
is that the
That's
white persecuted are being allowed in,
It's
and
still
the black and
the
the brown
American
are
dream.
being torn.
Well, for the record,
out of their
we
family.
did allow 20 million people to come
I
here
hear- I'm
illegally,
just-
and this is 50 people. So, I mean,
I get it. Right? The numbers the math doesn't math, but it doesn't mean the facts of the situation are any different. I also just want to take great issue with the thinking that they are being persecuted, that they are suffering a genocide.
Why
That
don't they
is-
leave their homes?
Because
if
they're
everything is
they
fine,
don't-
why are they fleeing?
Because
they
guess what?
don't
They
like-
want to come to America like a lot of people in the world.
Oh, the American
We
dream is
have-
working? Oh,
But
no,
we-
that's horrible.
But we have a system to prioritize people who really need to come here.
Well, that's a debate we can have, and we are.
no,
that
the
is- that's not a
American
debate.
dream
It's
is
still the
it's
magnet.
process that
It
we
is the
have.
process that has been
Well,
set
the previous
for
administration had priorities about who
refugees.
to let in, including, all kinds of folks who I would argue shouldn't be here. This administration, I guess, is going to set priorities about who not to let in.
But let's just be honest about what those priorities are, right? And by the way, I'm a Democrat here. I did not defend the Biden administration on immigration.
But you voted for him,
So what it
That doesn't mean that I
and you
defend
voted,
him on
and you voted for a
immigration.
continuation of it in 2024, did you not?
I did not vote for his policies on immigration.
But you voted
Did
to.
you vote? Do you?
Okay,
but
but
you-
You
there are
voted.
things about Donald Trump
You
you don't
voted to
like
extend
either,
the
Scott.
immigration policies of the last administration.
No,
The
no,
point
I
is-
did not vote for that.
The point
I did
is,
not vote for that.
you're in a
No.
party that opened the borders, and I'm in a party that closed the borders, and I think the American people prefer it our way.
Well, he's
Close
closed the
them for all
borders
there.
to certain people.
That's
and
right.
I think
That's the
that's
difference.
the debate.
The people who are coming here
debate-
illegally,
The
of
debate,
course.
though, is he's closed the borders to people who are seeking
By the way, I
refuge
don't even
and
disagree with
opening
you
it
about the
to white
translators.
people.
I think the people who helped the American military deserve a chance to be here. As long as they're vetted and as long as we know who they are, I'm in agreement with you. If you help the United States, if you help the U.S. military, if we help brave soldiers like you were, I'm in agreement with you about that. But I don't think these things are mutually exclusive. I think we can look at these
but
situations.
wait.
So then why aren't they letting them in?
Apples to apples, though,
Would you agree?
assuming you think the genocide in South Africa, let's just for a moment assume that that's true. What is apples to apples is that there are 12,000 people right now, refugees, who had gone through the process, who are part of this lawsuit that was ruled on last week, telling the Trump administration to give a timeline for when they are letting them in. And the Trump administration is saying no, because they have a refugee ban for all of these people, most of whom come from places like Sudan and the Congo, most of whom are black and are not white Afrikaners. And so if you are looking at this from that, you say to yourself, I wonder what's the difference between the one and the other. Oh, okay, I see what it is.
I agree with you. And can we try to find some bipartisan agree that the Afghans should come first? If you have 50 spots, and you're only going to allow 50 exceptions here, 50 spots.
Is that all we have? I don't know why we can't do it all.
That's all he did.
That's all he did.
For the white
So would you agree that the Afghans should get those spots first? That's all I'm asking.
I'm in agreement that they should be here. I don't know in what order, and I don't know how many slots we have. But I'm in agreement with you that if you help the U.S. military and you are vetted and you are proven to be loyal to the U.S. government, which I don't know how you vet 12,000 of the people you're talking about.
And
It's literally taken. Some of them have been waiting
if you're
3
loyal to the
years
U.S.
for that
government, I don't really
But
have a
that's not
problem
what's
with that.
going on with the 50 Afrikaners. They did not help the U.S. government. So then if it's the...
He's asking me about the translators, and
I'm asking who should come first.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
if
they
you're
risked their
saying that
lives for
both,
us.
that
Does
you
that
think
not
if
matter?
you help the U.S. government, they should come. My question is, if you didn't help the U.S. government, but you're facing persecution, should you be able to come too, regardless of your the melanin in your skin?
I refuse to make this about race.
Okay.
You
But it
all
is about race,
you
I
all
think.
think all decisions are being made about race.
No.
I don't.
This one appears to be.
Why are the Congolese not being let in?
What's the difference between 12,000 people and 50
Can't
people?
win this argument.
Can you do that?
Start
No
with
matter
50.
who
No,
comes in,
but also
somebody
let me
else should
tell you
come in
something.
first.
There is
Start
a
with
very
50. The
thorough
people actually
vetting
experiencing
process
genocide.
for refugees. A lot of times they have to wait in third countries for years. Some of these people in this lawsuit, Pasito, people go look it up, have been waiting for 3 years to go through that very rigorous vetting process. These Afrikaners he just brought in, completely expedited, sent a plane to go, U.S. paid plane to go grab them in South Africa and welcome them with open arms while the black and brown people are being thrown the hell out.
All right, everyone, we're going to end there.
Navarro argued that while black and brown refugees are often turned away, white South Africans are being prioritized. The commentary points to people like Afghan and Iraqi translators who risked their lives helping the U.S. military, questioning why they aren't treated as a higher priority. The criticism is that MAGA's immigration standards appear inconsistent, despite repeated claims that race isn't a factor. According to this perspective, if the refugees were coming from wealthy European countries, they would likely receive a much warmer welcome. The video concludes by arguing that the debate exposed sharp differences between the two sides, with Navarro and Ashley Allison pressing their case against Scott Jennings and Kevin O'Leary. Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.